All right. Good evening and welcome to an unscheduled stream. We did not book in to stream today. It was going to be tomorrow, but we finally got all the real world work done. That's a lie. We did not get the real world work done. We got some of it done. We got a little bit of it done. We did not get it all done. But here we are nonetheless. There's enough work done. We've done hundreds and hundreds of kilometers and backwards and forwards. We spent a whole lot of time rearranging rooms. I am streaming from a completely different place in the house, perhaps for this one time. And it's now time to stop and focus on a world that isn't as real as the one that we struggled through today. So join me as, even though it is an Icarus weekend, we spend some time on session 0. How you doing? Still following the rules. Now let's see what we've got to do. Now we do have a job to do tonight. I have to turn this into a campaign by Monday. Simples. Now, I don't really have an appropriate look down from the camera thingy. So we're going to just play around here for a second. If I put it here, will that work? Nope. Nope, that didn't work. There we go. So we've got that. You know what? We might have my face rubbish tonight, but you'll be able to see what I'm doing down there. Let's see if I can't work that out. That noise is our other cam. Let's see if we can't double cam ourselves. Okay, let's go down into single player discussion. How will this work? Make that a little bit bigger. Let us add a chat. Add video capture device. Second cam. We are going to sort this out tonight, don't you worry. No, maybe we're not, because it didn't show up. I was expecting that to work better. Let's try properties. Nope. Okay, well that didn't work. So for the moment, you'll have to make do with my face. Eventually. Haha, there we go. Yeah, I couldn't get the other one to work. It didn't seem to connect, but it might just be not on. So we'll play with that. How are you, Book God? Lovely to have you with us. So as I said, tonight's job is to turn this into a campaign. And I'm glad you're here. I value your input and your guidance. So cheers to you. Let's not worry about the other cam for now. We'll see if it comes up. I will bring the things up. One of the things we do have to do, and I might bring up a Word document there on our other screen. It might be on this screen. I'm not sure where it'll come up yet. Make ourselves smaller once again. All right. First thing we can do is talk about the, what are they? Vendelin. No, let's call them session 0. Vendelin optional extra classy bits. I think that's an appropriate title. This is going to have to go out of the way. I am on a new desk and it's not big enough. Welcome, Book God, by the way. Hey, Valiant, how you doing? I am desperately trying to get ready for campaign. So on Monday we have session 0 and it will be the first time we are role-playing together. It will be a pre... Oh, did it not change? Done. That's probably where the problem comes from. There you go. It says changed. Whether it works or not, I'm not sure. There we go. Yeah, so I've got to turn that into my campaign for Monday. It's what I'm doing. So far, we're going to have a look at some extra class flavoury things that I've organised and told the players about, but not actually given them the printout for. So we're going to see some exciting typing today. D&D's now showing. Thank you very much, good Book God. And by the way, Book God, meet Valiant. Valiant, meet Book God. Valiant Book God, I'm not sure if you know, he's on our Discord and also streams in a similar time frame to what I do. We quite often play a little bit of Sea of Thieves together on a Friday or a Saturday night. But tonight, there's a different thing for me to do. So let us find our... Look, we've got... Look at that, lucky you. We've got full plans for the whole campaign story. Don't pause that in case you find out what happens. Cosmic threats. Look at everything. I've even got spreadsheets of what has already happened. Not that. There's so much stuff here. Look at that. Here's my idea for a sort of Shogun era fighting game. Not D&D, just playing around with my own stuff. But there you go, bit of fun. Extra weapons that I've created, which will definitely come out. We'll probably need to get to that at some stage. I'll put those up. That's not the right one. That's not the right one. That looks like our book. Okay, so what we're going to set up here are 5 or 6 different, not classes, not background classes, classy backgrounds. I'm not sure what they are. I'm making this all up. So these classes, and I suppose in order to do this properly, I'm going to have to pop up stream stuff. No, not that one. Session 0, there it is. I'm going to have to pop up our little full map. And we'll have to swap between. Okay, so this is the island of Vendelin. This is where our characters will begin their show. This is where most of our characters are, in fact, from. More specifically, the action is going to start in the town of Sedendria. Probably a city. Sedendria is a fairly old area. There it is there. On an isthmus, for want of a better term, on the Sindarin Highlands, and in a refuge, and sort of a point out of Refuge Sanctuary by the King's Strait. Merchant noble for a classy background. Yeah, nice. I will let them play around with that stuff, but there is actually a much bigger history, and I think you were on when I showed you this before. I can't do this particularly well yet, because I haven't uploaded it, but let's do it this way. That's not for my face, that's for this. That is the current history of our little world. It won't tell us a lot, it's more scratchings and notes. I need a sound effect for that. I definitely need a sound effect for that. So we know that about 3,750 years before the Reckoning of Dates, which is about 890 years before we start our campaign, elves appeared on this world. And we know that because the elves wrote stuff. Before that, there's not a lot recorded. Stuff happened, but it's not written down. So anyway, Sedendria is where we will start off. However, one of our characters is from the Stormbreak Islands. And that is probably where we will start our action. We also have another character who will probably be playing on Monday, who was abandoned right there on that little crossroad. And blip, another character who will be coming from the Valley of the Two Rivers, or from that direction. So I'm going to probably flash forward. So I think we'll probably start in the Valley of the Two Rivers, flash forward a couple of weeks as they travel. But we'll see how that goes. Anyway, by the end of the 2 sessions that are coming up over the next 2 weeks, we need to have found ourselves to this funky little town named Sedendria. I'm also going to have to re-equate myself with all these numbers that I put on it because I cannot remember what most of them are. This is obviously going to be the main cathedral-y type, and I haven't decided to which deity it will be. It will be those Saban, and I'll show you those deities shortly as well. But having seen that, let's jump back here. So we've got Sedendria there. We've got Briard, which is the principal city in the time that we start. We've got this area up here, the Corsoan Waste, which used to be and hold the principal city called Vandalia. Strangely, it has the same name, and that's from a previous sort of dynasty, for want of a better word. I'm not sure whether it's a dynasty yet. So we do have 5 different subclassy thingies. The first one we are going to call Briani. Yeah, essentially, for want of a better term, it's capital, but the island's probably not together enough in terms of population for it to be really a capital. It's the main city. It's sort of your New York in terms of everyone around the world knowing where it is and what it is, but not necessarily ever having a chance to go there. And definitely not the size of New York. But I haven't drawn a map for Briard yet, so that's definitely something that's going to take some time. Probably not even the trade hub city. I would say that there's a little tiny town called South Point. I haven't uploaded that yet, but I'll show you a puck. Looks like that. So that's South Point. It's quite small, and that's probably a better trade hub because it's central, and because it's really just where the elements, the mountains and the water, the bay in the north there goes, sort of pushes everyone through it, even though it's small. So, but probably the seat of the default power, I would say, Book God. And probably because of its history more than anything else, but we'll get to that. The next one that we're going to use is called Sindari. And that will be relevant to the city that we are in at the start. There's Vendali, which are characters that hail from or have some sort of affinity with the larger island or the peoples who were ruling. How long ago was that? About 1500 years before the reckoning of dates, the Vendali Golden Age, which is after the time of the Sindari. So the time of the Sindari was about 2,500 years before the reckoning of the dates. Then you've got the Elstar. Now, Elstar are indicative of the greater world upon which Vendalia sits, and it is called Elstar. So just like Faerun is its own location on the plains. 80 generations by human terms, yes. So I've very much just made numbers up for these dates, but also given ourselves time for things to be forgotten and relearned and those kind of things. So we've got the Elstar, and the Elstar have a greater connection to the world. And finally, you have the Wayfarer. And the Wayfarer are the name that the elves gave to themselves when they found themselves on this plane, which I said was about 3,700 years before the Reckoning of Dates, so about 4,700 years ago. And they appear on Sabile from the Feywild as an exodus from the rift between Corellin and Lolth, which you will be able to find in, I think it's Mordekainen's Tome of Foes. They talk quite a lot about that, the diaspora of the elves, and I've sort of just thrown that in there as a bit of a connection to some of the books because got the books, why not? So we'll start with our Briani. So the Briani, how am I going to do this? Let's throw in a little Tabarini. So whoop, there's our Tabarini. In fact, rather than that, we get a free lesson on whether I know what I'm talking about when it comes to word. The answer, of course, is no. Let's just see if it works here. I don't think it will. I don't think I've done it right. Yes, it does work. Haha, what an accident. Okay, so the Briani. We're probably going to need to drop our size down here, but I'll do that later so you can see. Bold, underline. Okay, usually dwarves and humans. And the reason that this is normally... no. I was pretty specific with that book, God. I did say they appear because the dwarves actually show up in Elvish texts around 3,500 years ago. And it's... Hey, Dinra, how you doing? And it's unclear at this stage whether the dwarves predated the elves on this place or not. So because, though, there wasn't a kept text of any type before that, it's unclear. But for the purposes of what we know, yes, about 4,700 years ago. Because numbers are fun. They don't mean anything. They're not important, right? So, the dwarves then, of course, appeared. And the dwarves and the human essentially founded Briard from memory. And I'm actually having to check with this. The founding of Briard, yes, was about... during the time of Sindari, so between 3,000 and 2,500 years ago. About 3,000 years before the Reckoning of Dates was the War of the Lost. And it's around then that humans appeared. And there is a reason and a way that happened. But of course, as is always the case when you steal from other IPs, humans cause trouble. Short lives, want to make a name for themselves, cause trouble and upset the apple cart. So there's the War of the Lost around 3,000 years before... the Reckoning of Dates, and about 3,200 years ago, the humans were first mentioned. And of course, they do what humans do. They spread and do stuff. So the Briani are usually dwarves or humans, although they are open to anyone. So I might add that in, but available to any 100%. They're like the rabbits of the humanoid world, unless you have rabbit people, which I'm totally open to. Can you imagine putting a rabbit, like an anthropomorphic rabbit, like a tabaxione with big rabbity ears and bounciness, into this kind of area, and they spread and do things the same speed to a human as a human is to a dwarf, which is like much faster again. And then look at suddenly from the perspective of the rabbits, the humans are ageless as well. I've never thought of that. Oh, I need a pencil. That's cool. I'm totally doing it. That's a thing. I'm going to put a pin on that one because putting a pin on things is what people do. Ah. The Ark of the Covenant, pencil edition. I'm going to need some sort of papier over in the secret realm as well, I imagine. Exactly. I'm doing rabbit folk. It's a thing. Oh, really? Man, everybody has ideas before me. It's almost like nothing is new in heaven and earth that we did not dream of in our something or other, Horatio. But let's not go into Shakespeare again. We tend to do that a bit. I am looking forward to Wilds Beyond the Witchlight. It's going to be cool. I probably won't play it immediately, but I am buying it and adding it to my shelf. So, we're still making our own rabbit folk. Or, if they don't grow the way I want, we're putting it in. 100%. Everything's stealing, but we're stealing it nicely. You know, with reverence. I think that's supposed to be homage. Let's say it's homage. 100%. But I was talking about this at my IRL game on Thursday. One thing 5e has done very well, particularly in the later books, and the one where they go down to the levels of hell. What's it called? I didn't buy it because I'm playing it, so I'm not allowed to read it yet. Help me out here. Commandeer, exactly. Is that Port? No, the actual story. Descent into Avernus, or Avernus, depending on how you say it. That's an unfinished argument as well. Avernus. A lot of the stuff that you see in those books, and Dragon Heist was the same, you don't need to use it all. There's so much depth of flavour that you couldn't possibly play in a linear railroaded run-through. It's abundantly clear that Wizards of the Coast really are starting to think like DMs usually think. I mean, how many DMs do nothing but play released material? I reckon I've done about a 50th of Nanzaru, the Death God one, whatever that was. Oh, jeez, my words are... Sorry, that's just over there out of sight. Let me see it. No, I must have lent it to someone. It's gone. Anyway, the one with all the dinosaurs and Chult. I'm really struggling with memories tonight. It's been a busy day. But they've all got these huge, rich worlds, and you can totally just steal from them. Like, this one's the city one. I'm going to take this city rule. Tomb of Annihilation, that's it. No, this one's got this. I'm going to take that. That one's over there. Let's take that. And you can just pick and mix. And I love doing that because there's some really cool mechanics and some really cool ideas. So anyway, long story short, we're stealing rabbit folk. We might call them raccoon folk. We'll just, slightly change the face, change nothing else. Then it's not stealing. 100%. Yeah, absolutely valiant. I might be your third mate, even when there's two of us in Sea of Thieves, but you've got me here. All right. Anyway, usually dwarves and humans. Back to hate folk. Okay, hate folk. There's another one. Sort of like little fiery guys, but just so angry. Pretty sure they've got them too. They're red caps. So our Briani is where we were before we got distracted by our hair folk. Usually dwarves and humans, but they don't have to be valid to any class within reason. If I press enter and tab, that'll go again. But I think we're going to need an extra... Oh, let's go there and then dot point. There we go. Rangers may choose the... I don't think it's called the Eternal City of Briard, but I want it to be. So we're just going to say City of Briard now, and we'll see how it turns out. Now, I think Book God said something cool back here, and I missed it. Yes, bunny boys, bunny girls age quickly. They have many kids. They have quick generations. Absolutely. So if they have quick generations, to a hare folk, it would look to a human, as a human looks at a dwarf or an elf, going, dude, these guys are ageless. And you could have them be very warlike and aggressive and very quick to anger compared to elves, where the elves would sort of look at them and go, they're not even human, they're not even intelligent. Whereas the hare folk look at humans and go, wow, old and wise, ageless, live 100 years. Although, and I know I'm getting completely off topic here, but God, if we're going to talk about quick generations, you know a quicker way to get generations? We could have a character type which reproduces by binary fission. So literally asexual cellular reproduction. So like literally fully intelligent person, two exact clones that then start to change from there. I reckon that would be cool too. Just going to take a note of that. Is it a biogenesis? I can't remember. It's been a while since I was in a biology class, mate. I'm gonna Google it later. So Rangers may choose the city of Briad. No, I don't. Genetic memory. I don't know. I'd have to think about it because you'd want them to have super low HP, but if they know they're going to die, like if they roll 2 death saves, then before they die they split. I don't know. I'll think about it. It could be a lol. It'd definitely be something for a one shot though, because it'd be annoying after about an hour. Yeah, they live for 5 to 10 years, something like that. Although 5 to 10 years is still too long. No, I think it'd work. Alright, so Rangers may choose the city of Briad as favoured terrain. I can't spell tonight. Or, ever. Oh, that's right. I'm going to leave the U in it because this is Australia, even though it doesn't matter anymore. And anybody who is a Briani adds proficiency when hiding or moving in Briad. Cities, especially Briadi cities, count as nature. So Briani probably specific largely for a ranger, but the hiding and moving would also work for a ranger, or for a sneaky sneak, and that natural area would also work for a druid. So you could have a city-based druid. I thought of this one specifically as having very, very limited use and being more of an RP thing, of having that connection to the Briani Empire, which is very much in decline. And by decline, I mean pretty much gone. Yeah, it's really just a city now, more than anything else. So that's our Briani. So that's our first option. Now, if I have this, can I do a little circle around it? No, I can't. Didn't think so. That'll be a later thing then. Okay, so next we have our Sindari. Now, the Sindari age was after the War of the Lost, around 3,000 years ago. Norse, Norman-esque, trade with dwarves, founding of the Briad. So, Briad is, according to my notes, is supposed to be... Good call. Thank you. File. Save as. Don't look at my name. There we go. It's gone now. Optional subclass backgroundy stuff. That's going to be really hard to find when I've done way too much. So I do have this pretty much paper saved. So at the moment, I'm just writing down the absolute basics. If you have something to add, please do so. So anybody who's watching along there and is considering it, and you have an idea of what might link to this, ask me a question and dive in. Let me know what you think might make it round. Now, we don't want these to have big sweeping benefits for the players, because then I'll have to rank up how difficult stuff is. But just these little occasional, oh, I can use that, or I can use this for an RP reason. So Sindarai. Oh wait, sorry. Usually dwarfs and humans is actually a Sindarai trait. The Briani are usually human. Human with direct or indirect ties to... I did call it the internal city, to Briad. The eternal city. Now, in my mind when I did this, it was supposed to be my version of Waterdeep. You know, that big, eternal, important city that's just everyone's like, wow, how is it so big compared to everything else? Nick CM, thanks for popping in, mate. These are all sort of optional class backgrounds for cities that I have created. So let me bring it up for you. This is a planning session for Monday. On Monday, on session 0, we have our first roleplay day for our session 0, which is set on the island of Vendolin, which is in front of you now. And the island of Vendolin is quite old. It's been around 4,500 years of written history by the elves. Written by me in this case, and I'm not an elf. But stolen from whatever I could, really. Basically like World of Warcraft. But these cities are dotted, or were dotted around here. So the Briani that we've talked about, that's Briard there. It's about, when was that founded? Oh, about 2,500 years ago, maybe 3,000 years ago. Before, and when I say ago, I mean before the reckoning of dates. It's about 890 after the reckoning of dates now, so you can add about 900 years to anything I say. Then you've got Sedendria, which is where our campaign's going to start. I'll show you some images of that one later. Vendolin used to be where Corso is now. So just between Extor Rin and Corso, and the Corsoan Wastes. Then we'll talk about that's Vendolin. Ulster is a larger... thanks very much. Ulster... Well, this is Ulster. So that's Ulster, and you can see Vendolin, where this is happening, is just there. Okay, so anyone who has Ulster, and we'll get to that shortly. Then we have Wayfarer, who are the elves who found themselves here after the elven diaspora, after the falling out between Lolth and Corellin. And they all got exiled. So we call it diaspora because we don't want to make them feel sad. Okay, so human ties to the Eternal City, blah, blah, blah. That was all correct. Now, usually dwarves and humans, but available to any class within reason. Let's look at our points, what they get. At character creation, or within reason later on, they may split human and dwarf characteristics. Now, they can make of that what they want. That could mean that they change what the bonuses are. They could say, oh, I want 3+1s and then this. Yeah, that's just there as an option for people to play with if they want. They get advantage. Now, because Sindaria and Sedendria is around where they're from, and this island had very big ties to that, and particularly trade ties many, many moons ago, they get advantage on checks to find the best path when there is a choice. For checks that pertain to this world, particularly as there's no books on it except the one in front of me, history and arcana checks are interchangeable. Now, this is quite important, history and arcana checks being interchangeable, because the reason at the top of our map there, and I thank you again for being nice about my map, I do like sitting around and just drawing them from time to time. I get in the mood and do 3 or 4 on one. This desert up here was not always so. And I am running another campaign in this area, and they're at Extor Rin at the moment, which is a desert oasis. That top area that you just saw used to look like this. So much more foresty, same amount of mountains though. And the reason that is not like that anymore is because rather than having the Spell Plague as we did in Faerun, we had the Spellblade Calamity. And we don't know what happened, but most of the information that we have is that there was explosion. Yeah, making maps is brilliant. It's just sort of sitting around and doodling it and see where it comes up to, pages and pages of them. In fact, the discussion we had last Monday with Kitty meant that we put a new map into the campaign list that may or may not be found. So we'll see how that goes as we go through. Now, do remember that while you're on here, if you are using the channel points, there is a community goal. So not this next Monday, but the Monday after. The chat and I can make, so we can make up the NPC that sends our heroes on their quest. So if we make that fairly high number, you will help make that. So get involved in that if you can. Just go down to little round channel points, do the thing. I'm still learning how it works, so good luck there. So I don't know if I've said it right or not. But if you want to have a say in making that NPC, instead of me just using one I've already made, which may completely change where this campaign goes depending on how we build it, yeah, make sure you're dropping those in. Now, where were we? It may be clear to you that I get distracted easily. So there's our Sindarai. Next, the Vendali. The Vendali are all races available. That's all I have to say about that. They have advantage on history checks about Vendalia. That would be the culture of the peoples and maybe civilization's the best word. So a history check on where they were, what they did, who they were. For whatever reason that the players will be able to make up themselves, anyone who identifies with Vendali gets advantage on history checks about Vendalia. May choose one extra language relevant to Vendalia. This would be a discussion. Negotiation with the DM, but it would be a... What's a negotiation where we make up new stuff? An improv-y negotiation. Negotiation. Cool. Let's pretend that's real. And because the Vendali, yeah, 100% homebrew. Yeah, good point. Maybe that would be a better way to say it. This would be... I'm going to change it. I like how you're going. There we go. Fixed. Impromptu. We're going to stay with homebrewing now. but impromptu sort of works too. But the idea there is they'd say, okay, I want a new language. What would I recommend? And I'm like, well, there's this, this, and this. Or let's have a look at what other languages might have come into Vandalia. Because Vandalia, and again, if I'll show you this again, I won't zoom it up this time. All the cities on there that don't exist anymore have little dots between them, and those are trade routes. Trade routes that disappeared largely, but not completely, around about 1,000 years before the Reckoning of Dates. Yeah, I can only quote one person at a time in the official Vandalia DM's guide. Okay, and the last thing they get there, of course, is because of that tradey stuff, is advantage on trade negotiations. But again, there's not a lot of trade anymore. It would be useful at times, but there's not as much trade as there was. Little bit. I may be giving away Book God that I've taught some history in the past, but very much like that, really. But more like think of that, but think that you got to remember there is a much larger continent to the north, and there is a little bit of foreshadowing about why people don't go there up here. The name of the northern sea there is the Barrier Sea, and there is a reason that we don't get a lot of people joining or leaving successfully, but we'll come to that. However, that was not the case. Hold on, I'm just... Vandalia. What's the big center trunk of something if it's holding it up? So if I were Atlas holding up the world, in a stylistic thing, you would be a pillar. That will become important later. Anyway, Elstar. Elstar is that larger world upon which Vandalia is floating, but not floating. All races available to that as well, because Elstar, as I said, is in a lot of ways not available at a larger area for people to get to easily. You sure, 100%. Nick, that's awesome. But not exactly right here. There's a lot... when I think about it, there's a lot of links to the world tree, but they're not positive links. Let's put it that way without giving too much away. So, Alstari. Now, Alstari appeared in our timeline around the Alstari Dominion was about 1,220 years before the Reckoning of Dates it started. And the Alstari ran Vandalia as a puppet state, an extension of Elstar, and they were a magocracy. So they get advantage, because they're a magocracy, advantage on Arcana. And they also get advantage on Alstar-based history checks. Now, this one... No, but we might need to invent one. I think that every world needs a giant squirrel protector. And every giant squirrel needs a giant squirrel protector. And I'm sure that could go on. Once per day, an Alstari may give an order. Now, I'm not sure how this one will work. Tell me what you think. So once a day, somebody who chooses Alstar can give an order as a bonus action. This will give a chance to sway an NPC's actions, or provide a PC who follows this action or its intent. Let's use intent, an extra bonus action. So it seems it might be a little OP, but I just thought we'd play with it. And finally, of course, Wayfarer. And they're elves. As I said, they the Wayfarer, they called themselves that when they came to Elstar about 4,500 years ago. Elves. Others by negotiation. So again, it'd have to be a good reason for you not to be an elf there. And there's a couple in... There's I think there's one in this campaign that might qualify. Now, I'm going to write the name of a deity down now, and you guys are all going to tell me that I'm copying from the second seasons of Critical Role. But a problem I'm not. Yeah, why not? Dark Elves can count, but I'm not sure why yet. Where has my Traveller gone? For Sheer, isn't it? Was it for Sheer? Yes. No, the Traveller is in there. The Traveller was going to be my Farnglen. But God, thousand little pointy points closer to our NPC. And we're now 24% there. So the girl in the next room threw 2,000 on this evening as well. So we're getting close. Like a mid-battle persuasion intimidation check to turn an enemy into the Elder. No, Nick, I don't know if I'd let that happen. More like because the Elstari were a race or a civilization and a magocracy who very, very clearly controlled other civilizations, it would be more like a, oh, you there, do this. And if it aligns with the player's needs... Hey, there you go. 25% complete on our community challenge. Yeah, if it aligns with what that PC wants to do, I would allow that to be an extra bonus action on top of any other bonus action should it be required. Valiant Odyssey, another 800 in there as well. We are going to make that. I am excited. I am looking to see what we can make and then shoehorn into the beginning of the campaign. So this NPC will be the NPC that sends our heroes as they will become out on their quests after they meet at a tavern, because it's always a tavern. It's going to be a tavern. It's not going to be a tavern. So it's not going to be Mayad the Traveller. So let's have a look back at the Pantheon, and we will have to bring this Pantheon up shortly. Yeah, adds for Sheer. I think for Sheer will be the one that we have that is added if you are a Wayfarer for now. So, anyone who is a Wayfarer, especially if they're not an elf, gains advantage on finding a path. And you'll notice that I've got a little bit extra pathfinding stuff in here because very few people choose a ranger at the moment. And so, particularly being a world that's not got a history like Faerun does, I thought I'd throw a few things in there just to push things in the direction, because I designed this for a bunch of players that I play with in a real life game who hadn't played a lot of D&D, and I wanted them to have extra things they could play with to push them there. But I also like the RP flavour that would work here, and I think for the players that we've got, it will give them something else to grab onto, which I think for us could be all of the funds. So, advantage on finding a path. Not always the best path, because that's fun. I'd never throw them straight into death, but finding the path as a wayfarer might be more interesting, albeit less direct, than Sindarai, who find the best path. Whatever that means. Not fastest, but the best. And wayfarers may use nature, history, religion, and survival interchangeably under many, not most, not all, not some, many circumstances. So there we go. To recap, we've got our Briani. And our Briani are normally humans, and they've got a direct or indirect tie to Briard, the Eternal City. We've got our Sindarai, who are usually dwarves or humans, but know a lot about the Sedendria and the Sindarai area, particularly, and so know their path there, and they'll get insight into the history and arcana of that area more readily than others. Vendali, same thing, only in this case, Vendalia history, so greater Vendalia history of that civilization. Then Elstar, same thing, but bigger world stuff. And then Wayfarer, their older information. So each one of those backgrounds will provide better insights, which means from my end of the table, lower check ceilings for specific information that will give them greater information on the lore, the myth, and the legend of the world that they are in. Because they live in it doesn't mean that they have objectively correct knowledge, and there will definitely be a fair bit of use of the unreliable narrator in this campaign, partially because it's funny and fun, but also because there's been so much time and so much repetition, exactly, fake news, and repetition over the years that a lot of the information has been lost or skewed. And that's something that I'm really interested in when it comes to the telling of stories. I've always been interested in storytelling, not so much writing, although I love it and I fail at writing regularly. The idea of telling stories and passing stories on, and the similar threads that we find in stories when they're told and retold, whether they be something from, 1001 Nights, whether there's something from a Grimm's fairy tale, all of which is sitting just there on my bookshelf. Fisherman's exaggerated tales, or what the tale you tell to your mate down the pub, or when you're on a long drive or something. Just that idea of the Odyssey or the journey or those things that go into it. I've always been interested in it, and I wanted to play with that in this world. So all of those are there for that purpose. Now, we should probably do some spelling checks here. Nope. That's right. We're in Australia, so we're not changing that to the... Yes, we are. Let's just go. Let's give in. There it is, folks. You saw it here first. I gave up on the... No, English is the correct way. Put the U that doesn't need to be in there. Vendalia, homebrewery. Not changing homebrewery, though, because I'm going to make up that word. 2 L's for the traveller. That sounds good. So we'll save again. Now that's done, we'll turn it into a one-page doco. There it is. We might just add a little line on that, which will mean I'll have to drop it down to size 11. There we go. Save it again. And that will now go out to our players before I go to bed tonight. So that is the first document that we're doing tonight. What would you like to do next? I could explain to you the hugely complex calendar that I've built and why it's hugely complex. We could go through the history a little bit, but I think I'm just going to take a photo of that and send it out to everyone. I can't connect it to my scanner because that's in the shed now. Book Guide, random NPC generation I'm going to save until we've made our community challenge. Once we've got our community challenge, then we'll do that. Let's do religion, that's right. Okay, we'll go into that one. So religion is a little bit special in this world. Couple of reasons for it. First of all, the religion on Vandalia is completely connected, but also completely separated from the wider pantheons of the Forgotten Realms. So in this situation, we're in a world that is sort of cut off from the rest of the prime material planes, and there's a very specific reason for it. So to take you back, not as far as you would think. I'm going to go back to my little timeline here. Hey, Nick, thank you very much for the follow. Much appreciated. Loving an extra follow. Although, that little picture wasn't the one that I thought it should be. There should be a clip of this cup come up and cheers you, so I will have to do it in real time for you. There was also a big cheer. Yay! But not today. So I'll have to fix that as I learn to use Stream Elements a little bit better. So if we go back, after the Alstari Dominion, Magister's Peak exploded. There it is. You heard it here first. And affects all of Vandalia. All of Vendalin, and the Barrier Sea becomes impassable, essentially. Alstari agents infiltrate Vandalia through sea trade. Oh no, that's earlier. Anyway, the Cataclysm lays waste to the north. And then sometime after that, an individual named Saban. Just jump back up so you can see the size here. An individual named Saban lived. Now, I don't have a lot of information on where they lived and what they lived and all those kind of things, except that during the time of their life, they were good. I don't think they got a lowercase t. I don't think they found some poetry that would really make things work. But they did rise to notoriety. They were a resident of Vandalia. And somehow, they rose to godhood. Now, the information isn't clear, and I've not decided whether I've decided on it. I've got a few different reasons and ways this happened, but I haven't nailed them down yet. But essentially, Saban rose to godhood through a desire to find order where the order had disintegrated in this place. And when Saban rose to godhood, they made it their absolute goal. May have been Book God, but again, in this case, and I'll talk through why, Mystra might not have the same direct input in the way things are going, so it's sort of gone wide. Like a backyard that's been abandoned, there's not as much direct control of the gods. Now, I did borrow that a little bit from some other campaigns, but the purpose for it I came up with before I thought about that part of things. So Saban Rose did some really proactive, I'm going to say good, but I haven't decided how objective good and evil is yet. And you'll find out about that in a moment as well. So Saban, and that is Say Ban. He is the prime deity of our pantheon. So let's do that. And we'll set this up again where we go there, there, the Elstari, what are they? Pantheon. So Saban got busy doing stuff. Then there was Talan, or Talane. And Talane, now again, unclear whether they were a god or they rose as well, but they definitely had a close relationship with Saban. Prime deity, Elstari Pantheon, and they are known as the Great Herder. Talane is the Shepherd of Life. And so Talane, yeah, Valiant, I'm not necessarily a religious person, but I can't help but notice that I have definitely followed a few fairly well-known stories around that. So Saban rose, not after 3 days and not out of a cave, but and didn't have holes in his hands. But for whatever reason, rose to godhood, as did Talane in some way or another. I didn't think about that one as deeply, I'm suddenly realizing. But I did need Saban to have somebody to help rule with. So perhaps Saban raised there. And the idea is we've got salt of the earth, former mortal gods raising in this world. Now, of course, that tips things in one way. And in this case, it was good. So again, not worrying too much about alignment here. We've got them, but I'm not holding people to them. Not even really decided yet whether we are objectively good is good, bad is bad, or whether that you can have changes there. So I'm going to leave that and play with it. Long story short, though, Saban and Talane I needed them both raised to godhood. Saban did it himself. How it happened to Talan, I don't know. They're gods. How should we know? Maybe they'll get to ask them. The two of these gods got busy reordering the world. Particularly starting with Vendilin, but then expanding out to all of Alstar. And that ascension happened 999 years ago, a mere year after the Spellblade Calamity. So there might be some history into how Saban rose there. But once Saban rose to godhood, they built an era of peace, but of decline of civilizations across Vendilin until only a few towns remained, particularly Cliffkeep, Sedendria, and Briard. Now, Cliffkeep is one I haven't shown you, I don't think, yet. These will all go up. So Cliffkeep, again, very, very imaginative names. That's Cliffkeep. And I've actually started trying to build a little bit of that in Talespire. I'm not happy with it yet, but I am playing around with it because Talespire is awesome. A little bit like Hercules, still humane enough not to think of mortals as playthings, at least at the beginning. I'm not saying that doesn't change, but I haven't decided on that yet. But anyway, Saban and Talan order, do a bit of order stuff. But because of the fact that they're both really good and really, wholesome and trying to fix all the things, and because of the other lesser gods that they spawn, and we'll talk about those quickly, but there is an imbalance in that pantheon, definitely skewing itself towards good, or towards creation, more importantly. So both the Great Herder and the Shepherd of Life are deities of creation. And through the interaction between Saban and Talan, we get 6 further. We get Astia, Is that how I said it? Yeah. We get Holan. We get Iail. Whoops. We get Iail. We get Naloon. Or Naloon. We get Palin. And we get Sindel. And not the Sindel from Mortal Kombat, thankfully. Oh, my head is covering the word. Thanks, Moose. How you doing, dude? There we go. So we get Estia, Holen, Ial, Naloon, Palin, and Sindel. So through this, I can't actually. I was trying to click on my Word document on the Streamy Stream thing. So the purpose of each of these, where Sabana's the Great Herder, Talana's the Shepherd of Life, they're separated into three different groups. You've got Estia, who looks after whose I suppose revenue is the wildlands, forests, and hunting. Helen, wildlandy, is growth, order, and farming. So again, both I've got them on the same little offshoot there. The sort of the gods of the land, and so definitely probably relevant for Remy. Ah, sorry, I didn't see you either, Book God, telling me it was still big camera. Then we've got Iail. Now, Iail is the god of air, of winds, and of snow. Which, of course, will probably give you a good idea of what's coming next. Naloon, god of seas and seafarers. Which means Palin is the god of ocean depths. So now I'm playing around with levels of this. So we've got the god of ocean depths, and then you've got Sindel, the god, and I chose Sindel specifically because I wanted them to be the god of lakes, rivers, and streams. I'm not sure why, but as soon as I said I want a god of lakes, rivers, streams, particularly more still, cloistered water, it was instantly Sindel. So I do have to look that up and find out why, because there's got to be a reason. One of those story reasons I was talking about before. So god of lakes, rivers, and streams. Hey, I used an Oxford Common there. So I now need to go back and use one here. And does that make two words? There we go. Seafarers is one word. Travel or pathways? I do have something for that, and this is relevant to Tania, Kitty's character, and that is Fashir. Fashir is the Ascended one, and this is purposefully a little bit misleading because the Ascended one was the first to die in this world. First what? I don't know, but Fashir is the first to die in this world. No, not necessarily, Nick. So you've got your two gods of the land, your one god of the sky, and then your three gods of the water. for no reason other than that's the way I did it. I don't actually have a justification because I would almost argue that water doesn't hold the same importance universally in the cultures of this world. So riffing on that, perhaps you could say that there are more gods for that because it is more unknown, because it is less held as important. So you decided there were more gods looking after that, so fewer people had to. We'll put that one down until I work it out later. Thanks for throwing that one out there though, because it's really interesting. Interesting too that when we go to Earth, we don't have anything on that geology stuff, and I wanted there not to be anything on geology because these are not old gods. In fact, they're quite the opposite. They are very new gods, and definitely not capricious, I would imagine. So, Thashir is the Shepherd of Death, and as the Shepherd of Death, I wanted them to be responsible for taking the dead to their rightful place, very much like some readings of the Raven Queen. But I also wanted them to have become that representation of the journey or of travel, to that next step when it comes to death, but also because of that, in a wider broad, becoming, the god of adventure and a god that's obviously deified by many. The reason I chose the Ascended one is because I want there to be that conflict there, because Saban is an ascended person, and Thashir is the first to die in this world. So there's sort of a history of ascension in this world for whatever reason. Who created the realms of the dead or afterlife cycle of rebirth? I'm going to say that one's probably been left with the larger pantheon of the Forgotten Realms. So remember, up until Saban, and I'll talk about this shortly. Actually, this hasn't even come yet. These deities are new deities. There are existing and older deities. So in this world, there is knowledge of Farglan, who's the deity of travel, I think, in Greyhawk, and of many besides. The dwarvish gods, Moradin, and them, they're known. The elvish gods, they're known. The Forgotten Realms gods are known, but they don't seem to have the same pull in this place as in other anymore. Now, at the time of Saban, they have, and there is a reason that they don't anymore. Because we've got 2 prime gods, 6 minor gods, and a god of death, all focused on this one place, it tips the balance, specifically as most of these gods are very much about growth and creation, with the exception of Thashir, but you've got to have a death god. And so it tips the scales, the cosmic scales. And from that, we meet Zanuck the Devourer. And so we've got all of these other gods, and then out of nothing, in fact, I've even got an identification of when, if I'm not mistaken. Not exactly. Saban's Ascension was 909. The Spellblade Calamity, similar, but I'll go further into that. The Spellblade Calamity happened 1,000 years before the Reckoning of Dates. Saban ascended 999 years before the ascension of before the Reckoning of Dates, and sometime between then and 640, the Age of Isolation, we see rise to Zanuck, who threatens more than just this area because of that imbalance where there was... Kronos is amazing. Yeah, I think it probably has a bit both of Galactus and Kronos on it, but not by design so much, just by if you're going to have a god of entropy, which they think they are, and I'm not sure they are yet. I haven't spoken to them because it's not a real god. They're inside my head. And if I speak to that god, I'm speaking to myself. And anyway, I digest. Zanuck the Devourer initially came to bring balance. you know, Thanos style, but not Thanos style. So where all of these other gods create, Zanuck sort of appears. Zanuck, doesn't destroy, just unmakes, uncreates. But because there were so many of these creation gods, that entropy god or that end god or that nothing god. So maybe it's the nothing from the Neverending Story. I don't know. But this entropy god just unmakes and unmakes and unmakes. And it happens so quick and so fast in cosmic terms that Zanuck threatened to spread beyond this world to the greater prime material planes and beyond, which was obviously an issue. So let me just put this one in. Maybe a little bit, but again, not even that. Go one further. That's a Nick. I named mine Entropy, subtly, not Strong Suit. But Book God, not necessarily just Void and Chaos. You could say that, but I'm saying just nothing. Just complete... Like, I used Entropy because there's no better word that I could think of, but literally just not creating, the opposite of creating. Even destruction leaves remnants. Zanuck, not a being of destruction exclusively. Destruction, great, but you can go further, and just the unmaking of things. Appeared from the shadows to balance the cosmic scales. So I'm just going to pop that further out because there's no point because everything's going to there. Now I've done this, I'm going to have to do it for the whole thing, aren't I? Muppet. There it is. Just let me make sure this is still stream beats. I don't really want to be... whoops, that's not the right thing. I think that was on the wrong screen, thankfully. Too many buttons. Yep, still looks like stream beats. We're all good. Okay, so appeared from the... we might lose that one and lose that one. There we go. Okay, I've done it now, haven't I? Bloop, 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 bloop. There we go. Through the shadows to balance the cosmic scales, but as a foil to the pantheon of Saban, to be a threat to reality, because everybody loves a threat to reality. Where the other gods of Vendelin create, Zanuck is a being of entropy. That'll do. We can go further into that later, but that's essentially the point there. Zanuck the Devourer grew so much of a threat to not only Vendelin, not only Alistar, but to the entire pantheons of all realities and all planes, that something had to be done. And in 640, before the Reckoning of Dates, Sabeel gets locked behind a shield wall with the help... annulment, yes, annulment's great. A being of entry. That's your second input this this evening, Book God, and it would have been Valiance first. So, being of entry and annulment. There you go. Book Gods. Book Gods getting writing credits here. In fact, you all are. Maybe I should just write chat. So, and again, the details of that, not even here yet. But they, there will be details. We'll come up with those. But I mean, I don't want to make every part of the story, so discussions will happen. That's where improv is fun. But the Elder Gods assist. The Elder Gods, being the gods of the greater pantheons, assist Saban in chaining Zanuck, and then Sabine gets locked behind a shield wall, separating it from the rest of the prime material planes. As a result, no stars, no seasons in the same way as they can be found, say, on Earth. So then there is an unknown passage of time known as the Age of Isolation. In the timing here, I've got it as 640 years, but unreliable narrator. And then the reckoning of days is eventually set, and 890 odd years later, we begin. So let's set up that as the Pantheon of Alstar. And we will save that. Oh, session 0 needs to be... Don't make that noise. I shan't have it. There it is. Desktop. Drop that in as well. So there we go. They're our gods. Now I do have... I think I've already set it out in here. That was the original document. No, let's just leave it like that for now. And so all of those gods, of course, have been locked beside a shield or wall to stop Zanuck from upsetting the planar balance. Now that gives us enough cosmic players for our story to take place. And that story will take place on a much broader canvas than what the players will see, at least at first. So, stuff is happening with this, regardless of whether the players are aware of it or not. And I'm not directly going to just give them stuff for it initially. I will eventually, and they will stumble over things, depending on when they go. No, the Barrier C is literally a physical sea, which was made tumultuous by the Spellblade Calamity. So that's a physical barrier to the rest of the continents. A shield wall separates this reality from others, and Zanuck is chained, whatever that means, or was chained, can be changed, was changed. Spoilers, Zanuck's not chained. For a reason. Don't know what that reason was, but I also know what that reason is. So there we go, that's our second document for the evening. And it tells us a little bit about why our calendar looks like this. Oh, my nose is so itchy. I have the beginnings of a terrible spring hay fever going on. So here is our calendar. It starts with Ascension's Rise, which only gets a first dawn. So you'll notice that oh, hello, what's going on here? Nick has contributed another 560 channel points to get us towards where we need to go. We've got 7,150 to go, raised, but we have a long way to go. We're only 25% of the way there. We need 25,000 in the next week. 2 weeks, 3 weeks. 3 weeks? 3 weeks. I reckon we can make it. Monday night. Monday night is session 0, so we will have hopefully Kitty, Sasha, and Brendo on to give us some backstory for their characters and actually do some role playing. And that's sort of where I need to get. Whether I get there tonight or not, who knows? So we have Ascension's Rise is the first month. And you'll notice in there that the layout is rather than Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and rather than a 7 days or a 10 day as it is in Faerun, I wanted 5 days and 5, let's call them weeks because I don't have a word for them. And so you get the Dawn, the Strive, the Zenith, the Ponder, and the rest. Now, this reckoning of dates has a link to the new Pantheon. So Ascension Rise, the first day of the year, remembers the rise of Sabin. And then you've got Sabin's Toil, which is first, second, mid, fourth, and final, Dawn, Strive, Zenith, Ponder, Rest. So again, you get that move of a day, which is funny because the changing of the days isn't because of a sun or a moon at the moment, or it's dampened by that. Then you have Talan's Meet, and so we call them Rise, Toil, and Meet. And I think down the bottom we've got different months, so different sort of not seasons because we're separated. We don't have a turn of the earth. We don't have stars that are clearly visible or anything like that. Things are muffled. So rather than having clear seasons, we have seasons of remembrance. And there is Ascension, Order, Radiance, Fall, Absence, and Regrowth. And they all have to do with the story that I just told you about the rise of Saban, the ordering or the reordering of Alstar, and then of the fall, which is the appearance of Zanuck, the absence of connection to the outside world, and then regrowth. So then we've got the ordering, so order, the ordering of a heel, and the ordering of deep. And so then we've got ordering of the gods, the ordering of the world, and the ordering of the deep. And that is the order. Then you've got radiance, so Hearth's warmth, Fascia's sun, Shepherd's passage, and the transference. And you'll notice that there are a couple there. So Hearth's warmth, Fascia's sun, and transference are all either a day or a week. And then you have the consumption, or consumption sun. You have your regrowth, hunger. So just like you get a day for the rise of Saban, you still get a day for the rise of Zanuck. And then we get the absence after fall. So there's the month of silence, the months of absence, and the months of celebration. And then the week of celebration for Saban's return, the separation, or we call it cycle of wall, the sacrifice. Then we've got toil, nature, and harvest. Then at the very end, outside any of those, we have a period that has nothing in it called renewal. Because we don't have to build a calendar based on the turning of the earth or the movement of the sun and the moon and the stars, we're able to have a period that goes for as long as it needs to go. How that gets finished or decided, I'm still sort of playing, but I imagine that comes from a central area and then radiates out, so it won't be completely accurate. So I've made this accessible to the players, and I will be following it because it's pretty hard to remember. Our date system works a lot better than this, but our date system has some bases in maths and logic, and mine is based in my head. So that is our calendar. What do you want to do next? I'm really just avoiding coming up with where we start. But we'll have to get there eventually. But is there anything else that you want to go through? Want to hear about? Want to see? Anything else about the world or the characters that exist in it? We haven't even talked about the pirate areas, because of course there's pirate areas. We also have another party that are operating in this world at the moment, and they aren't from Vendalin. In fact, they aren't from Alstar. And they're not known to our characters at all. So I suppose I can't put it off any further. Underground, the dwarves, yes, did do the delving underground. Not quite so greedily and so deep that they woke something terrible. But they do. And there is a place called Toland's Depths that will give the players an opportunity to go down there. And that is... So there's Sedendria. And this is Toland's Pass here. Alright, and in order to get from for Sedendria through South Point to the north, or to get from Briard through to the north without going the difficult way, everything must pass through South Point. And South Point is drawn somewhere. So I showed you South Point before, but this is where South Point sits, and it's why it's an important... It's only a village or a trading post, but it's got forests either side, and then it is hemmed in between the North Passage of the Barrier Sea and the Archspine Mountains. The Archspine Mountains move south to Toland's Pass, and Toland's Pass is the only way safely through the mountains down to Sedendria, and then further on to the Dragon's Teeth, the High Plateau, finally to Cliffkeep in the Fjordlands, which is a sort of a pilgrimage, definitely a holy-esque city, not to the reverence of Stormbreak though. And I have to be careful with Stormbreak now because I may have given it away. I gave Stormbreak to Kitty. Kitty gets to build her character around Stormbreak. So let's bring Stormbreak up, because Stormbreak is going to be one of the places that we visit on Monday. And at this stage, I'm going to have to get my notebook because we're going to start planning what we're going to do the day after tomorrow. Sorry, Book God, we're not going to have dwarves the day after tomorrow. Although that might not be the case. But again, it depends a little bit on what Kitty's done. Now, this one here, this is Toland's Pass. And it is 2 pages. It's pretty hard to see at the moment, I know. I will print these up eventually. But Toland's Pass is a small gap in a lower area of the Archspine Mountains there. And this pass was hollowed out by the dwarves. And then you've got Toland's Depths. And Toland's Depth Keep, which I haven't really ironed out as much. Looks like that. Toland's Depth Keep sits on the edge of the Darkmere Lake underground, which of course is an option to head into the Underdark. Now I'm going to cheat, even though this world is completely cut off from the Prime Material Planes. I'm still just going to treat it as an Underdark. Not going to be as many elves there though, although they will still be drow available. I'm probably going to play around with some other stuff there. Anyway, I'm going to go and grab my next bit of paper from the magic place behind the couch, and we'll start to talk about Monday's plan. I might, if it's all right, just quickly go and get a refill to my drink and check on the girl in the other room. 1 second. Or maybe a few. Excellent question, Book God. But I can't tell you. There is somebody that the characters may eventually meet there that will be pertinent to their story, who may meet them before. And there's definitely a group of people who are there. It's a very important place, more so than I have just explained, because as I'm sure you've probably gathered, something's going to happen to the shield wall. There's going to be a threat. Zanek's going to be involved, and the heroes are going to have to find a way to fix it. And part of that is going to happen there. Unless it happens somewhere else. It's probably going to happen there. It'll happen there. Unless it happens in a tavern, because it won't be a tavern. But yeah, it'll happen there. So there is an individual there, and their name is, I think, Serena Anvilhorn from memory. I doubt it will be in this one. Hold on. I'm pretty sure their name is Serena Anvilhorn. And I think she doesn't control that area, but she's definitely very interested in the goings on there. We can talk about that later on. But for now, I might leave that one a little bit of a secret if it's alright, Book God. Just looking at my depths here to see what I can find. Thicket Father Talon. No, that's too early. That's already happened. We also need those. Need my little notes on character. We're going to see if they've updated those too. I would say it's complex, but on the larger side, the latter. Probably more groups do their chaos in the name of Zanek. Zanek wouldn't give a care. Zanek would just use and then destroy. Where are they? There is a lot. Yes, it is Serena Anvilhorn. And she's been moved around from time to time. Valiant, I literally thought about that for quite a long time. I was playing around with having my IRL game become this, or just pick from a few of the games that I've played in. Pick a couple of friends. Moose was going to be involved, but he's got some stuff going on, and he's on the East Coast, so the times didn't always work out. Moose is going to be a busy man before too long, so I couldn't do that. So I actually just popped in to the Western Australian Dungeons and Dragons Facebook page and put a post up and went, hey, anyone who wants to do this, this is what I want to do. Let me know if you're interested. Got about 12 or 13 people interested, and I chose the first 7, which turned into the first 6, which turned into the first 5. And it's those 5 that we've seen the stories of over the past few weeks. So if you are a VOD watcher, you have all of the previous episodes of Session 0, which are every Monday, but we'll be playing the game as of, and I've got the dates here, every other Monday, and I will probably be having sessions very much like this. Probably not too far from the truth there, Valiant. He'll probably be asleep with the stream on by this stage, so he won't be there to confirm or deny. There was no culling criteria, to be quite honest. I chose the first 7 and then told everyone else thank you and I'll put you on a list. And one of those 7 decided that timing was going to be difficult, and I still play when I'm able to with him Sea of Thieves from time to time. And the other one was pretty new to D&D and decided to watch for a while. They were more interested in the workings of streams and would be a really good person to help with stream issues. But I get the impression, like, a lot of the people in the party that we've got are very experienced. I'm probably one of the 2 least experienced D&D players on the team. There are a bunch of really good of really keen LARPers on the team. There are a bunch of really accomplished DMs. In fact, Anthony's. If you're in the Discord, Anthony, what's Anthony's name on there? Yeah, Anthony in our Discord runs his own D&D stream. I think Brendo has run his own D&D stream as well. I believe Kitty's done some DMing as well, but if not, Kitty and Sasha are just really good at depth of character creation and storytelling through character and characterization and just ideas. If you think I babble on, so do they. Like the three of us on stream, I think will be very interesting once we're trying to actually do the game. I'm excited about it because they've all had some just amazing ideas, to the point where it just came so hard and fast in the chat that I had to go, okay, I think this is what I'm going to do. I sent out a tell me what you want to do, and that's sort of where Monday's going to come from. But that's more about the stuff we want to cover character-wise on Monday. What we're going to do here is where and when stuff will happen. So our first official Session 0 game will be on the 4th of October at this stage. Now, it's the day after I come back from up north, so it could be interesting. So I'll try and get that done before then. So the 13th, which is the Monday, coming up in a couple of days, Remy, Tana, and Formosus will be having their pre-session. And the idea of our two pre-sessions is to get the characters together to have a previous interaction with at least groups of them. So when they come together in the first session, it's a little easy for the hooks. It's not like, oi, who are you? And we spend that whole time doing that. The two groups will have already met, and depending on what happens, their level of interaction will be that. So they might meet in these previous ones and then not talk ever again until they suddenly, by coincidence or other, find themselves in the tavern in our first episode. Because it's going to be a tavern. It's always a tavern. It's not going to be a tavern. So Session 0, Game 1, even though it will be about Episode 6, so increasingly difficult numbering, will be on the 4th of October. The 13th of September, however, as I said, will be the stories of Formosus. And I'll see if I can find our Session 0 engagement. Where is it? Formosus. Nope. Must be updates. Just going to try and give you some visual cues on what these folks look like. Nope, not in there. General chatter, maybe. There's probably better ways to do this, to be honest. Ah, there we go. This is what Formosus looks like. Formosus Le Fay, Brendo's character. So, is a tiefling, thinks he's a fae. Yeah, we've had, and that's sort of part of what I'm trying to do, and I know you've been on before and talked about this with us, Book God, but part of what I wanted to do here was shine a bit more of a light on what happens outside every session. We had our first session where we actually set some ground rules and made sure we were compatible, and then I've had 2 or 3 people on to do character creation and talk about what they wanted there, and then we'll have these ones where we actually get to know each other role-playing wise and start to play things. Yeah, that one, the history of... and then we'll finally all get together and hopefully we'll have some pre-connections there which will make roleplay easier. Because not everybody on the team has roleplayed in the depth that I think is probably going to happen. And we're pretty disparate in our experiences, so we sort of just have to see how it fits together. History of Tieflings, Valiant, did throw me a little bit. And I'm very lucky that Brendo's backstory will help me on this. But Tieflings are one character type that are very, very rare in this place, particularly in Vandalia, but absolutely beyond rare right through here. I didn't think of tieflings at all when I created the world. There's not a history or a knowledge of them. That's not to say they don't exist and haven't existed, but they're definitely not common. Yeah, exactly. Just sort of work out what's going on and ease ourselves into it. But every time we have a session, we all go away super excited about it, going, I wish it was now, I wish it was now. So I've not got a huge number of worries, but I know that, I gave this map over to Kitty and let her build it with her character, because I know that's something she's passionate about. I've been speaking to Brendo about some of the things that he's built into his character. I've spoken to Sasha at length about a number of hooks in her character that she wants to bring in, and my challenge is going to be to weave the different styles of play and the different things they want to do into the game. Ooh, I like that. I do like that, actually. That's really good. It's not going to work for mine, but that's an awesome way for it to happen. It's going to be the more traditional heritage in that respect, Valiant, but once you get into the story, you'll recognize, because of Formosa's background there, where they think they're a fae, that'll give me an out for why there's so few tieflings. But again, with the length of the history there and the fact that they're being cut off from the prime material planes, I think that'll give us enough freedom. But Formosus is probably where we will start on our journey on Monday, because Formosus thinks they are a fae. Yeah, I like that. I think having the Hellscape background's not going to be completely terrible from here, because although I've talked to you about Zanuck as a potential BBEG, he's not. Yeah, I think because Zanuck's actually going to be almost a catalyst towards what's going on, and there's more depth to it as well. Zanuck's important to the Pantheon, but not central to the sparking of the story, or the end of the story, only the development. So he will be definitely an underboss. He's not our last boss. Now, Formosus has to find himself at the Stormbreak Islands, or at least heading towards them during the course of our session on Monday. So there is, and has been for some time, there's definitely a secret overpowered boss. There's always a secret overpowered boss. The Valley of the Two Rivers is a weird place, and it's been a weird place for some time. How much time, I don't know. There's other places that are weird places at the moment that have been weird for a much shorter amount of time. But the Valley of the Two Rivers has always been a little bit weird. It's been a lot more weird recently. And if Formosus says that they think they're fae, I'm going to have him come from this way. That's it. It's always a tavern. It's not going to be a tavern. And so Formosus is going to head this way by hook or by crook. And I'll talk to him about how that happens. So I think we'll start with a very short vignette of Formosus waking up. And heads east. Okay, so we'll do a little bit of that, just briefly. And then we'll flash forward. And we'll flash forward to Stormbreak. So over the course of these couple of hours on Monday, Formosus is going to get himself either to Sedendria or to Stormbreak. Tanare meets Formosus. I'm going to say he's been walking, and we're going to have an indeterminate amount. I like that. If you guys make the 25,000, I'll allow that one in. Don't worry, my repeated use of when they meet in a tavern, it's always a tavern, it won't be a tavern, is definitely going to be relevant eventually. I have a plan. Of course I have a plan. Anyway, Tanare must meet Formosus and must leave her cloistered life. So Tanare must we'll meet Formosus and around the same time leave Stormbreak Islands for Sedendria. And then we're going to flash forward again. And that will be to Sedendria. Where I think it's Elfin. I've really got to remember that name. I'm going to write them all down in a moment. But Elfin, that is Sasha's character, was abandoned at some time in the past. And meets the group and develops from there. So that is our first session. In our second session, we've got Remy, who was a farm boy and isn't anymore, and we've got Tana, who is a gnome, not artificer, but artificer-y, a gnome who's just been fired. And I won't go into too much more detail on that one yet. So that's where we'll be going from there in the next one. But on Monday, we'll start with Formosus, very, very short thing, and then we'll pop forward to Tanare, and we'll have a session, a part of the session there, and then we'll finish up in Sedendria with Elfin. So that means that when Sasha's character's not there, I'm going to ask her to come and play and dive into some other characters. So she won't be sitting there just watching the whole time. I'm going to have her engaged and involved with some other characters, if that's what she's okay with. So I've sent out a message to everyone there, and I'll be updating that. But I didn't have time to get in touch with everyone this morning and say I was going to do a session this afternoon, which I wanted to. So instead, we have this little planning session. With that in mind, what do you reckon? What do you think we should do? How can we do it? I'm going to throw it a little bit open to you here. So we do need to have some time spent here. Now, it is very much Kitty's control here, so I'm going to be guided by her. But I was thinking that I should probably design this a little bit more. And I should probably design this and this a little bit more. But I get the impression I'm not going to have time. So instead, I'm going to do this. That one. That one. Where is it? Albert Rodeo. That's what I want. Just want to see how big I can make our map. So we'll see if that works. Because we'll be playing on that. That's essentially what our game board will look like if I can get it to work. Can I resize it? Not really. It'll probably work. Horse. Visible. Okay, so it does work. Alright, so that will work. So that's essentially what it's going to look like. So it will work, but it won't be ideal. So what I need to do is think about that, I think. Okay, so obviously I'll probably need to have a couple of quick chats with our players for Monday. But what about you? Is there something that we should do? Is there something that should come up? What will Formosus meet when he first wakes up and joins things? What will be the reason Tanare leaves Stormbreak Islands? And what will be the situation where Elfin meets the party? They're the three big questions that we have to answer. Now we do have some characters, so we can have a look at the characters and work out how that's going to come to pass. I suppose it's only right if we've seen Formosus to see if we can't find our others. Although, I think Anthony's character is what I have more of. Kitty showed us a picture of her character that she sketched on Monday. So if you're watching the VODs, go and check that one out. She's not shared it with us yet. And I'll also show you some ideas from Tana, Firefox's character, on our next planning session. But you should see some of the art that's already been done for it. There's some stuff looking really cool, which I'm excited to see. Book God, that could work. Now, you were around when Kitty was talking about some of the ideas about the way that the Cloistered Society works there. So, being led astray could be an option, but I'm not sure it's going to work for her character. But I'm definitely with you on the mentor not being what they seem. I think there needs to be something there. Maybe a mentor or someone that she trusts not being what they said. With Owlbear, I was just looking at Owlbear Valiant for being able to zoom into different parts of that map and using them as play sites, because I really think because essentially I drew this a year or two ago and I gave it over to Kitty, and I think there'll be action here. There'll be action in different places on this potentially. And if I zoom in like that, it's really going to be hard to play like that. You need that bigger context. So I'm actually going to have to build this and like these different sets. I don't think I'm going to have time. So I think tomorrow night I might actually go onto Tailspire and try to build that. Although that would take a long time because that's, as you can see, it's a fairly steep rise. I don't know if it's going to be that high, but definitely like you've got the buildings at the bottom and then the rise next to it. Again, I think there's some thoughts along. I agree with the hidden secret, but I don't want to lose confidence in the entire thing because there's quite a fairly strong through line there with the Death Shepherds, which I released information about on Monday to Kitty, which I'll actually have to write up as well. But I like that. I am taking notes because on what you're saying there. So the mentor, bad. And the hidden secret. Yeah, I was going to do that, but I think I really want it to be a higher resolution map that actually has it, because that's very general, that bit. I actually want to have these roads and things in there set out, but I really do need to talk to... I will try that, but I think I need to find out from Kitty first. Actually, that is something I can do. So Kitty has given me some stuff to read over, and I've not read over it yet, so I'm going to do it now. Now, I'm not going to share it on screen because it's not my work. It's Kitty's. Okay, so she's an oblet. Raised within the complex of Stormbreak. Service to Fashir. And that's everyone. Skinny. Gloves. Not trying to... I'm trying to read this and say a few things, but there's information here I'm not letting out because it's not really my place to do so. It's definitely the realm of Kitty. So I'm just going to do some information chasing here. That's cool. Okay, here we go. Prologue and or session 1. Raised in the complex. Service. True believer. Abrupt and unsanctioned. Excellent. Okay, so if her departure needs to be abrupt and unsanctioned, I would like Formosus to either not do it himself, but to bring news of it out of the blue and have her have to trust an outsider. So we're going to say that Formosus is going to bring the doom. Even though it's not that, we're going to say that Formosa brings the doom, I think. Yeah, I agree, Book God, but the more I read this, the less that's going to work for her. Okay, we need to deal with that. Okay, so there's quite a lot in there that Kitty has left that gives us some direction on what her character was going to do. Because we're having that session, or I'm planning that session where she leaves here, it might adjust it. So I might actually have to change it. I need to talk to Kitty there and find out about her decision to leave there and what I had in mind. And I might make a few suggestions, see if we can change it. But if it's important to her character, which I'm fairly certain it might be looking at the way it was written, I might need to change it. And that's one thing that I'm really, really intent on doing in this, is being flexible to let each character's story come out. Now, that won't be at the extent of the whole story, but definitely to make sure that all my players are engaged with what they want to be engaged with. I want people to have that opportunity to do what they want to do. And I'm going to find it hard, therefore, to push it back the other way from time to time. So that definitely gives us some information, though. So now, knowing what I'm hoping to do, she was riffing on that Book God, but there are a lot of other things in there. And I know since we've had some chats on there've been some very long chats on on our Facebook Messenger about the background and knowledge of certain characters and where we might be going. So I've got about 50, 60 different ideas floating around from all those discussions, which was just amazing, but hugely confusing. I've got to think really fast as a DM to make sure I adjust and keep up and give all of these options chance to grow. But looking at there's a fairly specific thing which would make her leave. But I wonder if that was the decision to leave and then something else comes up because she's sneaking out, she finds out something. And I'm going to have Formosus bring that doom. Now, we need to know then what that doom is. I need a way, and I've got a couple of my ideas in mind here, but I would love to hear your thoughts of how Formosa's accidental, and he may have purposely come to this place that he found, but he wasn't coming as the pilgrim that most would. Normally, pilgrims that come to Stormbreak Island, they come and they stay. It's the place that they go to find their rest. Formosus won't be doing that. And he'll be coming as a bard. He'll be coming for fun and for performance and to do something that hasn't been done or that isn't done. And to be a bit tricksy, I imagine. But we need to have him have a chance meeting that when he realizes that this is the place he had the chance meeting for, he has to do something. Bigger, I think. Because the Death Shepherds are a much bigger organization. I think we need to go, not necessarily bigger, but definitely more sinister. And I think it needs to be not from within, but internal in some way. I think he might find his way in a non-approved fashion. In fact, oh yeah, I heard an idea there. I'm not going to share this bit with you guys. You can have to wait till Monday to see that bit. But we're going to get Formosus in there. I would like him to have a meeting in a village, in a tiny little town, on the road, with someone, because that'll allow him to develop that characterization. Any ideas? What kind of person or people or group or encounter will we start with for Formosus? I'm leaning towards, circus caravan kind of thing, but I just think that might have been done with tieflings fairly recently. I don't know. Plague, disease, refugees. I don't know. I have to play with that. But essentially, there needs to be a fairly quick interaction of situations that means that when Tina leaves, she leaves with Formosus. Now, she doesn't need to get to Sedendria with him, but she will leave around the same time. So they've had that passing at that time. And then the last bit is when they meet Elfin is really easy for me. They're going to meet at a pit fight because that's one of the things that I know Elfin was going to have done, and they're going to see her and find an engagement there. But then I have to have something happen there as well, and at this stage I don't know what it is. Why at fight? Which I'll bring up. So, look, thank you very much. Oh, sorry, I missed something from Valiant there. Fair enough. Incarnate Mapmaker has good stamps and backgrounds if I want one. Yeah, I was playing around with Incarnate a while back. Yeah, I think Elfin was talking something about her history in the pit fights there, and the sponsor did come up. So that might be a good buy there, I think, Book God. And I know that she also said that she had some fairly good knowledge of Sedendria and had been there for some time. So I think once they make their connection, I think she will become something of a guide, which will give her good control over Sedendria. Which brings us to another point. This is Sedendria. You'll notice on Sedendria, I'm just going to zoom this out a little bit for the minute. That back. There are some numbers on Sedendria. What have we got? Where's 1? That's 1. I can't remember, and there's about 19 or 20 of them. I can't remember what those numbers represent. It's not on the back side of the page as I thought it was. There's 20 of them. So we've got number 1 there. Now, I think it's the gate barracks, so I'm open to other ideas as we go through these. So So that's the Gatewatch Barracks. Now number 2, let's find number 2. So looking at that, it looks like, to me, this is 2 here. It looks like the buildings in this district are much bigger. There's a big circular gates there. Docks, I'm pretty sure, is going to be 19 if I look at that. But if you look at this one, I'm pretty sure I remember this one because you've got the outer wall here, an inner wall here, and a pathway with a big loop. So I think that is probably going to be the equivalent of the castle. Now, this is not a city that has a full-on, Castilian sort of nobles. Yeah, so it's somewhere between a castle and a noble house, I think. It is definitely the seat of power. So we're going to call it the seat. I don't know yet what the leadership of Sedendria is. And that may well come up to the NPC we create. So it is the seat. And I will make up the name for that just in case that NPC is the one you will choose if you make your first quest, which has still raised just over 7,000 champions, and we need 25,000. We don't have a huge community yet because I'm not really pushing and trying hard and building it, to be honest. I like to talk to people who come in, and I love the discussions we're having. I'd love more people to come, but I like having having few enough people to have these discussions while we're here. So I'm not pushing it. I'm not spending enough time streaming, and like tonight, I feel that this is the most fun that I have while on stream. So have a think about what you think that the noble, the head noble here, not going to be a king. I'd go with Lord up until we find a better name. So that is where the Lord lives. So I'm going to write head noble's house for the minute. So it's a castle-y type thing. Ooh, Marshal. I'm going to put that in bracket. I like that. Now, I'm not going to say that that's the center of government or town hall or anything like that yet, because I don't know what the other numbers are. Now, there is a grassed area, I assume. Yeah, so a green area there. So whether that plants or just grass, I don't know. Judging by the shape of it, in the middle of this building in the middle, I have an idea that it might have been the main tavern, and it's huge. But I don't know. There's definitely some parklands up here by number 4. I don't remember at all what that is. And there is here and here, there's some forest. So I think around the outside might be park, but what was that building? Like, it's too big to just be a single tavern, I think. If that's an entire Lord's house. It might be a hotel or something like that. Let's have a look. I don't know what that was either. Once we get to 18, that'll be confusing. Now, Sedendria is... If we have that one, I quite like that one, Bogog and God. In fact, I might make that this. That was going to be something, but I think one of those two might actually be our guild hall, our nature, our sort of druid's respite. I wonder if that's the central trading hub. Because, I mean, it's central. It could be the market trades. Square. I need a better name for that. Alright. Where's number 4? Okay. Help me out here, Book God. Your ideas have been really solid. Number 4. What's number 4? I got no idea. Town centre community. Something like that. It's off the slums. I would have thought our town centre would probably be one of these bigger ones here. 2 different buildings. It doesn't feel like it's the right shape for that, but I would have had a reason. Let's have a look at what we've got. We've got... That is definitely an old castle or something like that. It's not the centre like this one. But number 6 is definitely a fortified structure out on the island with a little bridge. But it goes into the what looks like the slums. So 5 looks like the slums. So to the left of the slums, we've got these big open spaces. And I think the dotted lines are sort of gates or fences. And there's grassed area around it. Training grounds. That's not a bad idea. Let's make it the training grounds. And that would lead... That leads pretty well with your idea of Marshall, I think. So that sort of tells us that Sedendria is fairly militaristic at the moment. But I'm going to say they're militaristic not for going to war, but it is a rough place that they're in. So, training grounds for seafarers. So, what am I going to call our seafarers? 100% Book God, because I know that there are pirates to the south. There's a lot of seafaring danger here, and that's why it's such a significant dock. And that's what number 7 is probably going to have something to do with. So number 4 is going to be the training grounds for sailors. And because Sedendrians train... Oh, what's the word? I can't remember. Not alabasts, but essentially crack seaborne troops. So they can sail, but they can they can really do ship to land and ship to ship battle very well. I like where you're going with 6, Book God. But I'm going to go one step further. Once a great lighthouse, now it's a place of study and worship. And it's sort of going to be the Tinker's Guild. Oh, actually, no. I've got a completely different idea, which links directly to Tana's character. That's the Great Vault. It was a great lighthouse. Now it's a great vault. Sorry to go back on that one, Book God, but that one, the Great Vault, I've got a story reason and a character reason why it needs to be that. And it's super, super secure. So if we want to have ourselves an Ocean's 11 style heist, we can do that there. Still trying to think of the name for our sailors, the specific class of, you know, hardcore SAS seagoing sailor. I think we're going to go back to our Pantheon for it. Naloon. Can they be narwhals? Because the god of seafarers is Naloon. Can they be narwhals? Would that pull us out of reality too much? I think it probably would. Maybe that's the derogatory term for them. They're going to be the Narwa. Nah. tree. There we go. All right, so that's 4. 5 is the slums. 6 is now going to be the Great Vault. 7. So you do have a bit of a beach area in the middle here. And coming up to the end of the beach area, you've got this large fortified area here. I agree. I think 8 can be the new lighthouse. Bright Point. Seven is very fort-shaped. In fact, I think I'm going to make it the main fort. So it's the main defensive structure. I put it there specifically to protect that harbour. How it does that, I'm not sure yet. 9 is the prison. The prison island, because why not? And yeah, I agree. Yeah, so that's it's the main fort area, so it's the staging area for pirates, which is an ongoing issue. 8, I'm going to say yes, is nominally the lighthouse, but I've got a couple of other notes there because again, it's a good lookout spot. It's a good link to the prison island, and I think it's going to have a little bit more of a role in something more nefarious as well. So it's definitely going to be that forward planning station, sort of the nerve center of the militarism, the seafaring militarism of Sedendria. Which brings us back to where we were on Monday, where we were talking about a faction that I pulled out of a different campaign that I did called Death's Shepherds. But I think I'm going to pull up as well. We've got the Sprays Raft. They're going to exist. Prophets of Naloon, Hope's Arrow, Exile's Hammer, or the Merchants of Dethar. 19. Yeah, that's definitely the warehouses. 19 is 100% warehouses. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we got about 10 of them to go. 19 is definitely warehouses / dockyards. I'll zoom it out so you can see a few more of them. We've done most of those, so that's what we've got left there. But God, while I try and work it out, the Sprays Raft. So literally what I'm looking at here, so I'm not being too boring, is a whole lot of factions that I made up for a different campaign, which is sort of not a different. So we've got the Seafarers, the Merchants of Dethar, the Prophets of Naloon, Hope's Arrow, Exile's Hammer, the Keepers of the Rift, the Death Shepherds, the Lonely Road, and then there's the Landrian Underground, which I can't fit in because they're specifically something else. Merchants of Dethar. Okay, so Merchants of Dethar. Just write that in there for later. So 9 is the prison. Now we're on number 10. That's a strange shaped building, which I think is probably a tavern. Tavern. Accommodation. Number 11 is the primary. 12 is the Merchants Guild. So that's just over here. I think that works. Definitely going to be fairly powerful because they've got that great waterfront property. And so I'd say there's probably some quarters there with sea views, some which they hire out and some which don't. Now 11, I already know those crosses there. Give it away. This is the that's the primary sort of cathedral-y type thing. And I've written primary religious joint for the moment. 12, 13. No idea. Maybe 13's for livestock. This one here. Although 18's got a corral around it. It's a bit big for that corral, or that area is a bit big for that. So that might actually be our town centre or a town hall or something like that. I'm not sure. We might come back to 18. So that's 11. What do you reckon about 13? I might skip that for now and come back to it. 14 is going to be factory district. 15 is the commons. Ah, yes, I do need some smithy. I think the commons and the market track. So the commons and market district will have our smithy in it. Well, maybe we'll make 13. We'll make the trades meet, because we were going to make that our vault, but that's the trades meet. So the Tinkers Guild, the Smiths Guild. I've got a couple of ideas for that actually. In fact, I've got a map for it. It's a map I use to get my other characters to this place. But you know what? We're going to reuse it because I enjoyed drawing it. It's good fun. And there is some stuff in there that will justify why that would fit. There's the top floor. There's the bottom floor. That's what it looks like once you zoom in on it. And this area down here, there's 4 different areas. There's the water, the wood, the stone, and the steel sections. So we can actually play with those as well. So that's another one I can throw back into our main stuff. So we've got up to 16. 16 is the Sedendria growers. Conglomeration, corporation. Yeah, definitely a growers thing. Farmers Hall. Call it Growers Hall, but there's going to be some hinky business going on there as well, I think. 17. Here's a shrine. And it will double as the Nature's Guild, 100%. Shrine to the shepherd. Is she the shepherd? I think she was the shepherd. Let's check it out. I wrote it. I should know. But I don't. The shepherd of life. $18. I wonder if I didn't finish that. As you look just to the left of 20 there. Now 20 is a hidden gate. Fleagate. So 20 is Fleagate, 19 is the warehouse and dockyards, 18. I just don't know. I think it's going to be walled anyway. All right, we'll come back to that. You've definitely given me some help there, Book God, and I appreciate it as always. We are reaching that time of the night where it is 10:30 and I should be sleeping. But to recap, we've told some stories. We have come up for 18. That hall could work. I just don't know why there's so much space out in the back there. So I might have to think about that one for a while. And I have to look at this area here. I'm pretty sure I mustn't have finished it. But that might be the old district. I'll think about that one and come back to it, I think. But to recap for tonight, we started off, we built some stuff that we're going to send off. We built our optional subclass backgroundy stuff, which I'll bring up, where we have our Briani, our Sindarai, our Vendali, our Alstar, and our Wayfarer as the optional extra classy bits, which I'm going to put through to our players tonight. We went through in a great deal more detail our Pantheon of Alstar, led by Saban, Talane, and then with Astir, Holan, Ahil, Iail, Naloon, Palin. Naloon always reminds me of Aloon from World of Warcraft, but and Sindel, not from Mortal Kombat. Then Fashir, the first to die, the Ascended One, and Zanuck the Devourer. We went through the Sibelian calendar. And then finally, we came up with a bit of a plan and a bit of an idea for how we're going to run our session on Monday and see if that works. And then we finally remade all of the names except number 18 for what's happening in Sedendria. I'm going to have a look at a few other maps between now and when we play, and I'm going to just maybe adjust a few, but definitely play around with number 18 there. Oh, we don't have a Mages Guild. Where's the Mage Tower? 18's going to be the... I think we're going to go a different way for the Mages Guild. And that's going to be Rubble and Ruin, and that is going to be the Mages Tower, and it's just going to look like a school. So... Something Academy. It's going to be an academy of some description as well, so I'm probably going to rebuild it a little bit, but that's all good. All right, so Book God, thank you as always for your input and your help and your ideas, Valiant. I really appreciate you joining us tonight. And Nick, thank you for joining us. I enjoyed your input as well. So we had some really good help today to come up with some ideas, and we will see how they play out on Monday. Now I've got something to think about and play with. But now it is getting towards that time where I must say good night. It's 10:30. I have to be up early for a very busy day of getting this house ready for sale. That's why I suddenly have something that's not normally in this room. That couch just got moved from the other end of the house where our lounge room actually is. So there you go. It's probably the only night we'll get to stream in this room, because I'll be trying to find a place where this fits that our agent and stylist, because apparently you need a stylist to go with your selling agent now. Tells us that this amount of stuff. I got my screen here and my screen here and my screen here and the mic going down here, and it's just not going to look good apparently. So we'll see how that goes. But thank you very much for checking in tonight. Thank you for coming for a look. Monday night, 7 p.m. West Australian time, we will be logging on and we will be playing our first role-played session. It is not our first session of the game. It is a pre-session where we will get to know three of our characters, three of our players, and we will see how this all goes. I am very excited. I hope you are too. Thank you very much, and I will talk to you all again soon. Good night now.